One. Welcome back into another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast. I am your host, Corey Kinnan, alongside James Foster here. Today, we are going to re-level set this quarterback class because much has changed over the past 5 weeks compared to what we thought about the class coming into the season versus where it is now. At least I should say, based on consensus, I think the class kind of sits maybe where I thought it might, outside of a couple names, obviously. But James, are you excited to talk some quarterbacks? You ready to dive into this thing?
I'm pumped. Yeah, there's a lot of new names that weren't really on anyone's radar heading into the year, and then just a lot of guys going in different directions. So it's still kind of a jumbled mess, but we are getting a clearer picture week by week.
Yeah. So let's start with the upperclassmen here who came into the season talked about as the top tier quarterbacks who maybe haven't quite lived up to that. And I think the obvious place to start this conversation is Cade Klubnik, who I don't know about you, but like this is a day 3 player. Like is there anything he can do to work himself back up here other than just like going on a Jeremy Lin sanity run here? Like,
yeah, and the thing is it's not even like the tape has been brutal. It's just I think it's definitely been a step down from last year, and he's somebody that we needed to see steps forward. Like I wanted to see more stuff over the middle of the field, more stuff, better timing and anticipation, especially on his second and third reads. And that hasn't really been the case this year. I mean, like I still think he made some nice throws against Georgia Tech, and I don't really look at him as the main problem with that offense. I just don't think they have juice on the outside when teams play man coverage against them. I don't see. I mean, it's going to be a 50-50 ball if on a lot of plays if he wants to get rid of the ball. So I don't think the separation's been very good. But yeah, I mean, he has a better situation and surrounding core than most quarterbacks. So it's not like we need to be making excuses for him.
yeah. And what's hard about Klubnik right now too is like you would think like, oh, there's some get right games coming up, but they've been in dogfights with Troy and they've lost 2 in a row to Georgia Tech and Clemson or in Syracuse. So it's like there isn't a get right game because it seems like they're gonna have to scrap for every game they're in right now, which is
they're
brutal.
the get right game.
Yeah, which is brutal for a team that came into the season with people saying this team's going to win the national championship. I mean, they have UNC next, and if there is a get right game, it gets to those Belichick Tar Heels that just look completely discombobulated and not like a real college program right now. And that's this next weekend. But
I'm glad I'm not like a actual college football analyst, because I said Clemson should be the favorite to win the national championship over the summer. I thought like on paper.
Yeah.
But honestly, after Clemson and Penn State, the whole like they were 9 and whatever last year, and they've got all their returning starters, and then all these players are going to take jumps. Like I'm not buying into that next offseason. I will say that.
That's kind of the lesson I learned last offseason is like you go into summer scouting, you try to predict growth, but like I'm just gonna start going off the tape that I got. Like we can talk about upside if you're a really good athlete, but like for the most part, I need to see it on tape before I'm gonna commit too much to it. So yeah, man, Klubnik kind of brutal. And again, what we talked about, we did a draft about Klubnik versus like Baron Morton and Josh Hoover, which Morton then went out and threw 2 picks and showed that he had a lower floor than I thought he did as well. The very next game after that, but like once we're talking day 3 range, teams want to see a stable floor, that you at least have a stable floor where if my starter gets hurt and you have to play, I can trust you to at least just like run the offense and not turn the ball over. And that's not something that Klubnik has proven to do this season. So like the floor is the limit for how low this guy could go by the time the draft rolls around, I think.
I'm not taking a quarterback on day 3 that can't hit a backside dig if he isn't like Joe Milton, physical traits.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, I'm not taking an RPO like glance, spit the ball out, access throw type of guy. Like that is not really, you can find, they come out with like 16 of those every draft.
Yep. I 100% agree. 100% agree. Again, I think what would have been best for him was to have redshirted by now and say, I'll see you again in 2026. But based on the fact that we haven't had that news yet, I would assume that he's not going to do that. But again, like we're talking Boston College, he'll be in a dogfight with Dylan Lonergan, and I'm not quite sure that Dylan Lonergan is not the better quarterback in that game. I'm not quite sure that Kevin Jennings isn't the better quarterback in their matchup against SMU the following week, and I'm not quite convinced that Darian Mensah is not the better quarterback in the battle that following game. So like,
I would definitely take Mensa.
yeah, and then Tommy Castellanos is playing good. For a college standard, is playing good football. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback by any means, but like, so that's 4 straight games where I'm like, I'm not even sure that Cade Klubnik's the best quarterback in those games. So, yeah, fairly brutal. Also, speaking about fairly brutal, the Drew Aller overtime interception is a microcosm of kind of who Drew Aller is as a player. Again, the outrageous arm, sure. The occasional throw that does enough to keep people who like Drew Aller to say like, no, I promise he's good. We go through stretch like every single big game. He's hovering around 50% completion percentage, which again, completion percentage isn't really a good metric, but like by my charting standards, like this guy is a spray shooter. The broad side of the barn has all of the paint intact. So like I didn't see it coming into the season. I had him as QB6 coming into the season. I probably still am around QB6, considering a lot of these 19-year-olds like Sam Levitt, Aiden Childs are going to go back to school, right? But like,
I got him QB6, yeah.
Most drafts, the 6th quarter outside of 2023, where even 2023. No, 2024 was the year that the 6 quarterbacks went in the first round. But most years, the 6th quarterback taken is a day 3 player, and I think that Drew Aller is a day 3 player.
Yeah. If you listen to the helmet sticker episode from yesterday, we kind of talked about Drew Aller's performance in a little bit more detail, but it's almost like every game he's on a mission to give people on film, on both sides of film Twitter, ammo to like make cut-ups that support him and that like go against him. You know, he really feeds both sides enough. There's some extraordinary plays, some really good, well-timed routine stuff over the middle, and then it's not, the decision making isn't reckless. You know, he isn't like a turnover machine. It's more, he's more like a that's mean. I was gonna say it's kind of like Will Levis, where he's like a bozo sometimes. Like,
yeah, I think that's accurate. I think that Will Levis is the profile that best fits Drew Aller.
Yeah,
like almost in every. I think Levis is a much better athlete than Aller is, but like arm talent to decision making to offensive kind of how they play in the pocket structure wise, like
yeah.
I think that's the closest.
I do think that Levis, or I think that Aller can see stuff over can see some windows that like Levis wasn't really capable of. I do think there's a little bit more to Aller's game there, and I think the pocket presence, even though it's not perfect, Levis he has no object permanence. So if an edge rusher uses a speed rush, he thinks now there's 10 players on the field. So he'll just kind of climb the pocket and hover, and like Aller will do stuff like that. But you almost never see Will Levis, with a nice, just crisp climb, step into a timing throw, whereas Aller at least has that on tape. So I think that there are distinctions to where I would prefer Aller if we're talking about them as prospects, but generally I agree.
Yeah. Yep. I'm so far out. Like it's year 3 as a starter and he still can't throw from a base. Like he can't consistently set his feet and throw the football. Like I don't know what he's doing with his lower half the time. It's rough stuff, man. It's rough stuff. Garrett Nussmeier. So Garrett Nussmeier is a quarterback who consensus and like even he had the highest of any quarterback summer grade wise coming in from scouts as well. Like he had a late 1, which was the highest of any quarterback. But like Nussmeier's always been that quarterback. Like, yeah, late 1 makes sense because like you can see the floor and the floor is pretty decent. But like even Nussmeier has some of those like bozo plays where his brain shuts off and he throws back across his body. And like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? To me, Garrett Nussmeier feels like Brett Favre without the arm arrogance that Brett Favre had. Like without the well, no, he has the
arm arrogance without the arm,
but without the ability to drive the football that Brett Favre had. I I don't know what to do with them, man. because again, he's not a good athlete. He's an average to below average athlete. The arm drive is there when he has his feet set, but anything outside of structure, that ball starts to flutter a little bit. I get that he's playing with an oblique injury right now, reportedly, like playing with an oblique injury, but like an oblique injury doesn't keep you from throwing the ball into traffic. Like that's a mental thing. So to me, he's a very capped out prospect. I probably still view him as I did coming into the season, which was QB5 coming into the season. I probably have him around QB5 now, just because I don't see the upside in selecting this guy anywhere near the top 15, the top 20.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't have a ton to add about Garrett Nussmeier that I haven't already said, on this podcast or on my own stuff. But I generally agree with that, and I think, heading into the season, like I was willing to give him a chance if he's just putting out, surgical tape. At a certain point, I'm not just gonna like, if somebody doesn't have the traits, like hold on to my prior evaluation. So like I'm willing to give him a chance, and if he has the Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels leap that we've seen from LSU quarterbacks, that clearly hasn't happened, and there's been some regression even from last season, I guess. I mean, last season is kind of like I think the first maybe 6 or 7 games was first to second round tape, and then there was that rough stretch that was kind of like 5th round tape, and then picked it back up. Now he's playing 3rd or 4th round caliber to me. So yeah, the grade will fluctuate a little bit for me, but just based on how he plays, and how much he's able to limit the decision making. But it's like you said, there's a cap, because I'm not gonna take him top 10.
No shot. No shot at that. Let's move on to the 2 quarterbacks who we came into the season pretty high on them, and who have, for the most part, held up to that standard, and that would be LaNorris Sellers, South Carolina, and Indiana's Fernando Mendoza. Let's start with Sellers here. We've talked a lot about on Sellers on this podcast of like being able to see the incremental growth. I do think this game against Kentucky was a little bit of a step back.
Yep.
I didn't think it was overly clean at all. He's still trying to spin out of every pressure, when it's just like, dude, if you're getting pressured, sometimes you just got to step through and go down for like a 3-yard loss rather than trying to spin out and then getting sacked for a 12-yard loss. Like sometimes you just got to take what you can get. Operationally, I still thought he did a good job of getting his eyes to the right spot, but I thought he was spray shooting a little bit against Kentucky as well in this one. Like the balls were caught. Again, he went like 11 for 14, but like receivers are coming off the ground on
one. Did
you see that?
Like
5-yard outs. Like, yeah.
You see that first throw where he was rolling out to his left, throws it to his receiver. It's tipped off his hands and then like gets tipped into another receiver's hands at the next level.
Yeah.
He had 14 attempts. It's like 1/2 basically, because they just ran the ball. So it's not even a game, really a full game's worth. But yeah, some scatter shot, which is concerning because I don't know if triumphant's the right word, but it was kind of like LaNorris Sellers had arrived. Because if you're telling me LaNorris Sellers is accurate, then I'm fully on board, and I think that his short to intermediate accuracy this year had improved over the first few weeks, and was missing some easy ones this week. So we will continue to monitor that. Corey will be doing so at a much deeper level than anyone on earth.
Yeah, I still like Sellers, and I think where he's proving that his floor is creeping up. Like with a big-toed quarterback like that,
yeah,
you feel comfortable as long as their floor isn't the basement. Anthony Richardson's floor is the basement, right? I mean, Sellers is playing with NFL caliber offensive coordinators who have coached in the NFL. Both Dowell Loggins, now the head coach at App State, who was a longtime offensive coordinator in the NFL, and Mike Shula, same thing. So like, I feel comfortable there. And I've talked a lot about the Rattler comparison too, where he came from Oklahoma, where he was throwing everything off his back foot. He was a big pocket drifter in an offense that didn't really have any sort of like guardrails around it, to becoming almost too guardrailed, almost too robotic by the time he left South Carolina. So like, I think this is the right staff to get him there. And I have seen that. We'll see if he pops back up again. He's got a gauntlet his next 5 games as well. So we're really going to learn about LaNorris Sellers over these next 5 games. Mendoza, kind of the same thing. He's got a gauntlet coming up, Penn State and Oregon coming up here in the near future. So coming off a really awesome game against Illinois and then kind of a so-so game against Iowa. I still think tools-wise, arm-wise, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the class. Decision-making wise, one of the best quarterbacks in the class. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. Again, the offense that he's running is a little RPO heavy, a little gimmick heavy, which is tough. But like, I think there was this like dichotomy between 2022 and 2023 where like from an evaluation perspective, we switched from like they have to be in an NFL style offense at the college level versus are they just making the right decisions, the offense that they're running? Are they passing the tests that are given to them? Because we went from like 2022 with Desmond Ridder, where it's like, well, he's the only quarterback who's playing an NFL offense, but like, well, yeah, he's making awful decisions in NFL offense at the Cincinnati level at Cincinnati, and then he was awful in the NFL. And then I think 2023, then we hit Drake May, where it's like, this offense it's Phil Longo. This offense is terrible that he's playing in. This isn't an NFL ready offense at all, but it's like, but Drake May's passing every test that he's given in this offense. So it's like, maybe not every, that's probably an exaggeration, but like, so I think there was this dichotomy hit where it's like, I don't care. As long as Mendoza's not playing recklessly and he's taking care of the football and he's being smart, which he has for the most part, that's where I'm like, okay. And again, the kid had offers from Yale and went to Cal Berkeley.
Can I expand on that point that you made? Because the point is, I don't care at all about a quarterback knowing concepts. Like, assuming, that's the interviews, they make sure everybody's smart enough. Then you get them in there, you teach them the playbook.
Right.
It's about like the mental capacity. Like, do they have the spatial awareness to fit a ball into a zone window and like know where the hook defender is in relation to the safety? And like, it's like that kind of stuff that translates across whatever play. Like, I don't care if you haven't run dagger before. Right. you can learn that. Yeah.
Mendoza had the best hole shot you might ever see this past weekend. So like, he clearly has that. Yeah. Completely agree. And again, before Cal came in late, his only offer was Yale. He was committed to play football at Yale and then Cal Berkeley, like two of the highest academic standard schools that you could potentially like get into. And he was like, yeah.
If you've seen him talk, he's like the most just like seems like a super nice dude.
Yeah. So like I'm still on board with Mendoza. Again, the athletic ceiling, I would say he's a better athlete than Nuss, but he's not a great athlete.
I like his athlete on like read options, but I don't like his start-stop athleticism to escape pressure that's in his face.
Yeah, I agree. On his Cal, it hasn't happened in Indiana yet, but on his Cal tape, he has like 30-yard scrambles where he's evading pressure and like picking up chunks with his legs, like linear athleticism. I think you're exactly right there. The start-stop, not great because he's lumbering. He's a lumbering dude.
Yeah.
But man, the arm talent is there at the wazoo. And then he had he's thrown one interception this year, and it was with pressure in his face that kind of sailed on him a little bit. So I don't know if it was necessarily a bad decision, just kind of a misfire with pressure in his face. But again, Penn State, Oregon coming up here. So
it's
again,
ultimately
the defensive front are going to overpower his offensive line too. So we'll see how he handles that.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit like I said this on the previous episode. I view Fernando Mendoza a little bit similarly to Dante Moore. I know he has the experience at Cal, but there's a lot of that tape that I just kind of don't think is that translatable. But it's just, I think, a low sample size evaluation because at this point, I watch an entire Fernando Mendoza game and come away with 4 or 5, gradable, like truly important, you can glean valuable information from this reps, whereas most quarterbacks it might be 15 to 18 because it's speed outs. Every quarterback's going to have some screens, but it's like speed outs, it's RPOs. They're not asking him to do a whole lot. He's very sharp with everything they do ask him to do, though.
Yep. Moving on to Dante Moore then, because now we're into this tier of the 3 quarterbacks that like we kind of talked about as like potential guys that could just based on situation, but they've all 3 been in conversation in this upper tier now as well. And we're going to start with Dante Moore at Oregon, who I've said it that I don't think there's a better quarterback running a smoother operation in the nation than Dante Moore right now. just complete. Everything is so clean. He's not making dumb decisions with the football. He's extremely accurate. His mechanics are tight. And then the tools are plus. Again, the arm drive, like the ability to drive the football, I don't think is top tier. But I would say, like, if we're comparing him to like an NFL tier of arm talent, it's probably that Dak CJ Stroud tier. It's not like terrible, but it's not like an upper echelon arm by any means.
Yeah.
But everything is tight. He is running an extremely tight ship, and he just did it going into Beaver Stadium in one of the most hostile environments in college football. So, like, the button's pushed for me. Like, I'm in. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have Dante Moore. Let's see, where do I have him? I've got him top 10. He's my quarterback 2, 7th overall. Had some really nice throws on the run in this game. I think maybe his best throw of the game was a drop by Kenyon Sadiq. It was a really tough throw, so I don't like blame him too much for it. But yeah, what a dot. And yeah, just a really solid performance overall. Did not look like an inexperienced quarterback in the wideout at all.
No, like, again, we said this in yesterday's show, but like, you could tell early on, they're like, let's just work some quick game stuff. Let's get his feet wet. Let's like not overwhelm him in this big environment. So they were working a lot of quick game, but like by the time the second half rolled around, like Oregon's offense wasn't moving, and like it didn't start moving until Dante Moore put that offense on his back and started making some big time throws for them in that game. And then again, the go ahead touchdown, not game winning because the defensive got at the interception there to win the game, but like the go ahead touchdown and the one play drive in second, like Dani Dennis Sutton was in his face. He evaded him, reset his feet, and threw from a dropped arm slot right on the money to DK Moore for a touchdown. Like, that's all the stuff you want to see from a quarterback. Like, he didn't try to do anything like off platform, like Zach Wilson-ish, like try to look cool. He evaded pressure, stepped back through, reset his feet, made the throw. Like, everything is so clean, so crisp with Dante Moore, man. I've been ecstatic about what I've seen from him. Do you have anything else to add on Dante Moore before we move on?
I don't, but it'll be interesting to see if he comes back to school. I mean, I tweeted something about Dante Moore and like I had to mute it because I just read the same tweet over and over again about Oregon fans saying that he was going to come back to school because he loves it there or something. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But yeah,
I mean, if there's one man who has enough money to keep him in school, it might be Phil Knight. So
that is true. That is true. But I mean, he could also, could Oregon be an Aiden Childs team next year?
Ooh, I think Aiden Childs has allegiance to Jonathan Smith, though.
Oh, okay.
Because
I don't know. I was talking to some. I posted an Aiden Childs cut up, and so some Michigan State, someone who covers Michigan State, was like DMing me. We were messaging back and forth. He was worried about Childs leaving next year.
Oh wow!
So
that would be interesting.
Yeah,
I do wonder if like Jonathan Smith would like take the UCLA job or something like that.
I would rather, like, I feel like Michigan State to UCLA is a step down.
I mean, outside of Southern California versus Lansing, Michigan, East Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah, I feel like the stadium situation would be such a deal breaker for me. Like, yeah. I don't know. I guess maybe it doesn't matter as a player because you're taking a bus anyways. But
yeah,
I don't know. That's a sidetrack.
Yeah, for sure it is. Another quarterback who is just running a very crisp, clean operation. I do have a little more hesitancy here with Ty Simpson than I do with Dante Moore, but Ty Simpson, he played a perfect game. He pitched a perfect game against Wisconsin, but we're like, yeah, but it's against like Wisconsin in its worst form. Like this version of Wisconsin is Wisconsin in its worst form. If he does it in SEC play, well, let's have some conversations. And then he went and then led Alabama to a victory over Georgia in Athens, where he played a pretty clean game. Again, like Moore, he runs a pretty tight ship. Hits the back foot, ball comes out. Like, he's not holding on the football. He's getting his eyes right where they need to be. And what I really like about Ty Simpson is he's encroaching on that. He might already be there in that Nussmeier Mendoza tier of like, these guys don't give a crap about throwing the football over the middle. They'll find a window and they'll throw it. And it, like they will thread it over the middle of the field. So that's what I really do appreciate. With Simpson, I have been a little more hesitant with the arm throwing like deeper outs. Oppo hash. outside the number kind of throws, about getting it there with the good amount of velocity and on the money accuracy wise. And then with Simpson as well, I think there is, although he's stepping through some pockets and picking up some stuff with his legs, but I think there's a little bit more of a cap there with like what he can do if things around him kind of crumble.
Yeah, the thing I think that Ty Simpson. So I'll lead with this. Ty Simpson is my quarterback 3 right now, but that is subject to change if he has a brutal performance. But to me, Ty Simpson has the most NFL throws on tape this year of any quarterback in this class by far. And like by NFL throw, we should define that it's not like a deep throw, you know. It's stuff that is in NFL concepts. So like backside stuff on time, you know, deep out opposite hash, like stuff that you will see in an NFL game. And I think that Ty Simpson has shown a lot that, or has shown more that translates relative to any other quarterback. My biggest concern with Ty Simpson is that we have not really seen much besides him hitting his back foot and the ball coming out.
Yep.
And so everything, like what happens when the play breaks down, you know, 2 people run the same route, somebody gets beat quickly, like whatever. And does he have that creativity out of structure? Anybody that says they know is BSing you, because there's like no evidence. So
he had like a 10-yard chunk last game, but it was like him stepping up through the pocket and tucking and running and getting down.
It's,
so, yeah.
I mean, his tape is like a, you know, a quarterback manual. It's all like very clean and kind of, so we got to see what happens when he gets heated up a little bit, but I do think he is very promising. So
yeah, Jared Goff like comes to mind.
I think he's a better athlete than Goff, like much better.
Much better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he's a better athlete.
I had Goff for Mendoza.
I think that Mendoza's like Bradford, Matt Ryan-esque.
Okay. Yeah. I can see Matt Ryan for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, last quarterback here to talk through this group of 3 that are on the rising trajectory, at least from consensus standards, is John Mateer at Oklahoma. I'm going to caveat this by saying I still see a lot of the same mental mistakes that I saw on his Washington State tape in terms of processing, like getting his eyes where they need to be, getting the ball out on time, opting to operate on the fringes instead of like, dude, your pocket's clean, like just step through and make the throw. He's still doing a lot of stuff that gives me pause, but like the tools are very evident. The arm talent's really evident. And he's playing on a really good football team. So John Mateer is the last one in this conversation. I would have a hard time saying that he's coming out this year. Let's see how the Red River rivalry goes. That's the first game he's going to come back from this hand injury that he just had surgery on. But like, I'm hesitant to say he's going to come out this year.
Yeah, I rewatched his Michigan and Auburn tape before we recorded this, just to refresh my memory, and because I seem to have a lower grade on him than everyone. And I did raise my grade because I think I was kind of too hard on him. But so this isn't a player comparison I would make, but I do find a lot of similarities between Mateer's tape and Cam Ward's tape, where like I love the ability to rip it down the seam and like the arm talent release, but there's too many sloppy throws into passing lanes with defenders in them. And I thought that was on his tape last year. It was on the Michigan game, had one to start out the Auburn game, and then that tape to me was an improvement. He makes some awesome throws. It's just it's got to be a little bit more clean to me before I'm ready for first round. I've got him 3rd round right now. So
yeah, I think I might have been the lowest on anybody on Cam Ward last year of the draft people that like we interact with or we consider colleagues. And I think like it's just because that's not my style of quarterback. Like I want my guys to be able to play in structure and do like stand in there and make the throws on time in the progression as they're supposed to do, and then like if they have to operate on the fringes and make something happen. I haven't seen it yet. We'll see. We'll see with Mateer. And again,
well, I think,
but yeah,
I don't know. I saw some of that stuff honestly from Mateer and Ward. Like, what do you mean more specifically by that? I guess, and let's focus on Mateer because, like,
yeah, we fall in love with vibe check quarterbacks who do like really cool shit. That
no. I agree with that. I mean, more specifically by like processing.
So there's a lot of times it's like the deep hook on mesh is open, and Mateer is like trying to scramble and tuck the ball and run, or like to me, it's like almost Zach Wilson BYU tape where it's like, dude, Hank is open. Why are you throwing off platform sidearm a 9 ball down the sideline when Hank is open? Like, it's that kind of stuff where it's like, I just would prefer that like we're not aura farming and we just like make a play like that as it's drawn up, you know. And like Y cross, which was big on his Washington. It's like, dude, the Y cross is there. The seam is open. Just like rip it. Like, I don't understand why we're hesitating here.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you think he's a 2027 guy probably?
I think so. To me, and that's not to say that I think he's going to transfer out of Oklahoma, because I think he's in the best spot with Ben Arbuckle, who was offensive coordinator at Washington State. But like, to me, it feels like Cam Ward's redshirt junior year at Washington State before he transferred to Miami. So that's where it feels to me.
I can see that for sure.
Yep. Any other quarterbacks you want to hit on? I don't think so. We don't need to talk about Carson Beck. Like, we can. I think his arm is cooked. So I think that's the most that like that's a day 3 player to me.
Yeah, we've talked about Beck pretty extensively. I think. I mean, look,
Childs Levin, I'm punting till 2027 as well. So
Josh Hoover, I get he's probably 2027. I still watch his tape just because I love the way he plays. Like he needs. If we're talking about like the middle of the field, the backside dig guys, like Josh Hoover needs to be in that Mendoza Nussmeier conversation. He had some throws this past week. I think PFF charted him with 7 big time throws, and I want to say 4 turnover worthy plays. Now I think one of them was a fumble. I saw like 4 and 2 maybe when I watched his tape, but ultimately, I thought it was a really impressive game. Still, I think he goes back to school because he just misses. He has frustrating misses on like short stuff too often. Like that's my biggest issue with him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Jack Besh stands out there who are like, why is Jack Besh diving on 5-yard hooks? So I think that's from last year.
Right.
Is still kind of out there, but he's fun, man. I like Hoover as well. I think that's really it. Sawyer Robertson, like, people love Sawyer, and I like fun college quarterback. I see a Mason Rudolph, Will Howard type arm, like big dude, small arm kind of quarterback there. But I think that's really it, man. Anything else you want to add here before we get out?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, until next time, this has been another episode of the Daft on Draft podcast.